Welcome, dear friends, to tonight's bedtime story. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the stars above guide you into dreams. Each story is filled with magic, kindness, and wonder. Now, snuggle in and let's begin. Tonight's story, The Ugly Duckling, follows a little one who feels different and alone in a world that doesn't understand him. Through seasons of patience and quiet courage, he journeys far from home, only to discover that what made him stand out was the very thing that made him beautiful. Let's listen and learn how we all grow into who we're meant to be. Once upon a time, in a quiet farmyard, a mother duck sat on her nest. She kept her eggs warm under her feathers. At last, one by one, the eggs began to crack. Out came fluffy yellow ducklings, peeping happily. But one large egg had not yet opened. Finally, the big egg cracked open. Out came a duckling, but he looked different from the rest. His feathers were gray instead of yellow, and he was taller and clumsier. The mother duck said kindly, "He may look different, but he is still my child." The other ducklings whispered and giggled. As the days passed, the other animals in the farmyard teased the gray duckling. "You are not like us," they quacked and clucked. "You are too big and too ugly." The poor duckling lowered his head sadly. He wanted to play, but no one would let him join. The duckling grew sadder and lonelier. Even his brothers and sisters pushed him aside. "Why am I so different?" he wondered. He hid in the tall grass by the pond and watched the other ducklings swim and play together without him. His heart ached for a friend. One morning, the ugly duckling decided to leave the farmyard. "If no one wants me here, I will find a place where I belong," he thought. He waddled through fields and marshes far from the farm. At first, he was frightened, but he was also a little hopeful. The duckling met some wild ducks by a river. They looked at him curiously and asked, "Who are you?" When he explained, they shook their heads. "You are not like us either," they said, and they turned away. The ugly duckling sighed and kept moving. As autumn turned to winter, the duckling struggled to find food and warmth. Snow fell, and the water in the pond froze. He shivered in the cold wind. Sometimes, kind farmers gave him crumbs, but he often went hungry. The winter was long and lonely. At last, the snow melted and spring arrived. The sun shone warmly and the fields turned green. The duckling, now bigger and stronger, stretched his wings and felt something new. He flapped and rose into the air, flying across the meadow. He had never flown before, and it filled him with joy. One day, the duckling saw a group of swans gliding gracefully across a lake. They were white and beautiful, with long necks and soft feathers. The duckling admired them from a distance. "I wish I could be like them," he whispered, "but I am too ugly." The duckling decided to go closer, even if it meant being teased again. "If they chase me away, so be it," he thought bravely. He lowered his head and swam toward the swans. To his surprise, the swans smiled kindly and welcomed him. When the duckling looked into the clear lake, he gasped. His reflection showed not a gray, clumsy duckling, but a graceful white swan. His feathers shone, his neck curved beautifully, and he looked just like the others. He realized he had grown into a swan all along. The swans gathered around him, saying, "You are one of us now." The ugly duckling, no longer ugly, felt his heart fill with happiness. The children on the shore pointed and clapped. "Look at the new swan! He is the most beautiful of all," they said. The swan spread his wings and flew joyfully across the lake with his new family. He was no longer lonely or teased. At last, he had found where he truly belonged. He held his head high, proud of who he had become. And so, the swan learned that true beauty blooms when we grow into exactly who we are meant to be. With that, our story comes to an end. May your dreams be filled with kindness and wonder. Good night, little dreamers. Until next time, sweet dreams under the stars.